So what is up, guys? Brandon Suter back, and today I am here with NFL Week Jamarcus Russell, Matt Ryan, Evan McPherson, and Jameis Winston. It is Week 2 predictions. If you're looking to watch a certain matchup, timestamps are in the description box below, so click on the matchup you want to see. Anyways, last week was absolute insanity. Like, one of the best weeks of football I have ever seen, and since it had to be Week 1, great way to start the season, although in terms of predictions, it was not good. I was 7-8-1, probably one of my worst performances, although my worst was the one where I went 3-10 in a week. But I always look back at the week and say, like, you've had worse. Just pick right back up and just come back stronger. Anyways, 16 matches to get to, so without further ado, let's get this video started. So we're starting off with our Thursday Night Football matchup, a classic AFC West rivalry between the Los Angeles Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Who doesn't love Chiefs and Chargers? It's always such a fun time. Anyways, starting off with the Chargers, a great 24-19 victory over the Las Vegas Raiders last week. Justin Herbert proving that he's still an absolute dog, threw for 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. The rush game really couldn't get anything going as Austin Eckler was your lead rusher with 36 yards. But the receiving game was still pretty solid. Keenan Allen, 4 receptions, 66 yards. DeAndre Carter, 3 receptions, 64 yards, and a touchdown. Gerald Everett, 5 receptions, 54 yards, and a touchdown. Austin Eckler made up for it a little bit in the receiving game, 4 receptions, 36 yards. That was pretty much it, and the defense did a great job at shutting down the Las Vegas Raiders. They did pick off Derek Carr 3 times. Only thing I'll knock you for is getting burnt by Devontae Adams, but to be fair, like, Devontae Adams is just an absolute beast. But one of the big things that's going to hurt you is that you're going to be missing Keenan Allen for this game, and I'm not sure how much longer, so it's going to be tough for the offense. And then the Chiefs, man, you guys just went into Arizona and laid waste to them. Patrick Mahomes, proving that he doesn't need Tyreek Hill, threw for 360 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. Now, once again, after week 1, you're going to see a whole lot of overreactions. I don't think that's an overreaction on Patrick Mahomes, that he's still a great quarterback, even without Tyreek Hill. Anyways, but in the rushing game, Isaiah Pacheco, he had 62 yards and a touchdown. Good day for him. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 7 carries for 42 yards. But the receiving game, Travis Kelce, like I was saying, he's going to have an insane workload this year, and he produced 8 receptions, 121 yards and a touchdown. Juju Smith-Schuster, 6 receptions, 79 yards. And MVS, he had 4 receptions, 44 yards. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire didn't really get much down on the ground, but he did have 3 receptions for 32 yards and 2 touchdowns, so great performance. And the defense, yeah, just shut down Kyler Murray because he prefers to play COD as opposed to do game study. Anyways, the Chiefs, they're 4-point favorites to win this one, but I'm going to take the Chargers in this one. Even missing Keenan Allen, I love how Justin Herbert has not lost a game at Arrowhead. Yes, he's only played 2 games at Arrowhead, and one of them, the Chiefs rested Patrick Mahomes, but still, give me the Chargers. And now you have our very first 1 o'clock matchup, a rematch of the 2016 AFC Championship game between the New England Patriots and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Also a classic AFC rivalry because in the 2010s, these two teams were just going at it against each other. Anyways, starting off with the Patriots, a tough 20-7 loss to the Miami Dolphins last week. Mac Jones just did not look good, threw for 213 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Rush game was led by Damian Harris, but he can only muster up 48 yards. Receiving game, like, once again, your receivers aren't really that great. We had Jacoby Myers, 4 receptions, 55 yards. Kendrick Bourne, 1 reception, 41 yards. And then Jonnu Smith, 3 receptions, 33 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense was okay. Sure, had a little bit of trouble against Tua Tagovailoa, but, you know, if you cannot neutralize Tyreek Hill, you cannot stop any offense. Like, Tyreek Hill, once again, I've said this many times, he's an X factor. If you can't neutralize him, you're not winning a game. And also, Matt Patricia was your play caller on offense, so explains why it was so bad. And then the Steelers, look, in 2021, you guys were known for having some of the flukiest, luckiest victories. And to be honest, you had a pretty fluky victory over the Cincinnati Bengals. Mitch Trubisky, not amazing, threw for 194 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Lead rusher was actually Chase Claypool with 36 rushing yards, followed by Najee Harris with 23. Receiving game was led by Pat Freiermuth, 5 receptions, 75 yards. Deontay Johnson, 7 receptions, 55 yards. And then Zach Gentry, 2 receptions, 40 yards. That was pretty much it, but the defense was immaculate. Just locked down the Cincinnati Bengals, forced 5 Joe Burrow turnovers. And, of course, with a 20-20 tie with no time left, blocked the game-winning extra point. So, once again, I'm going to give a lot of credit to the defense, but you are going to be missing TJ Watt between 6 to 8 weeks. So that is a huge, huge loss to the defense. Anyways, Patriots are 2.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win and cover. And now you have our very next matchup between the Carolina Panthers and the New York Giants. Starting off with the Panthers, Baker Mayfield came so close to getting his revenge on Cleveland, but Cleveland pulled out the 26-24 victory. Baker Mayfield in his first start with the Panthers, sure, the first half was rough, but he picked himself up there for 235 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Christian McCaffrey was your lead rusher with only 33 yards and a touchdown. But in terms of receiving, Robbie Anderson broke out. 5 receptions, 102 yards, and a touchdown. That's kind of like a typical Robbie Anderson where he will break out the first couple of weeks and then just kind of die down later in the season. Ian Thomas, 2 receptions, 53 yards, and DJ Moore, 3 receptions, 43 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense, they did a good job at stopping the pass. Jacoby Brissett really couldn't get anything going. But you struggled against Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, but I can't really blame you for that because that is still the best running back duo in the NFL. And then the Giants, just a miraculous victory over the Tennessee Titans. Daniel Jones didn't look too bad, threw for 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Saquon Barkley, dude, broke out, trying to prove the haters wrong, and he had 18 carries for 164 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was Sterling Shepard, 2 receptions, 71 yards and a touchdown, followed by Richie James, 5 receptions, 59 yards, and then Saquon Barkley, 6 receptions, 30 yards. And that was pretty much it. In terms of the defense, you guys did a good job at neutralizing Derrick Henry because once you neutralize Derrick Henry, the Titans really can go nowhere. And Tannehill just really couldn't get it done. But once again, I don't trust a guy like Ryan Tannehill. Giants are 2.5-point favorites to win this one, but I'm going to say that the Panthers pull off the upset here. Now you have our very next matchup between the New York Jets and the Cleveland Browns. Start off with the Jets, just a tough 24-9 loss against the Baltimore Ravens, even though I think everyone saw that coming. Joe Flacco threw for 309 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Now, once again, he had 59 passing attempts. Now, once again, a lot of this was in garbage time, so it's kind of hard to give him much credit because he's not elite. He sucks. Anyways, but lead rusher was Michael Carter with 60 yards, and then Breece Hall followed up with 23. In terms of receiving, lead receiver was Corey Davis, 6 receptions, 77 yards, followed by Greg Wilson, 4 receptions, 52 yards, and Elijah Moore, 5 receptions, 49 yards. And the only guy with the receiving touchdown was Tyler Conklin, and that was pretty much it. And the defense, really, they did a good job at stopping the rush, but the arm game from Lamar Jackson was pretty good. Now, even though the weather wasn't great, it's still not a great result for you guys. And then with the Browns, you actually won a road opening game, which never happens. And of course, you have to trade away Baker Mayfield and do it in his face to spite him, which is cruel, but also pretty cool at the same time. Anyways, Jacoby Brissett wasn't great, barely completed 50% of his passes for 147 yards and a touchdown. No picks, though. In terms of rushing, Nick Chubb led with 141 yards, followed by Kareem Hunt with 46 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was Donovan Peoples-Jones, 6 receptions, 60 yards, followed by Kareem Hunt, 4 receptions, 24 yards. Then Anthony Schwartz, 1 reception, 19 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense did a great job at shutting down Carolina in the first half, but completely fell apart in the fourth quarter. But of course, Cade York came through in the clutch and kicked you guys to a victory. Anyways, Browns are 6.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup, a classic AFC South rivalry between the Indianapolis Colts and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Start off with the Colts. I think a big narrative going into this is that you have not won a game at Jacksonville since September 21st, 2014, which is insanely depressing, especially what happened last year. So anyways, starting off with the Colts, you tied the Houston Texans last week. First 3 quarters were terrible, but you just picked it up in the fourth quarter, but just couldn't get it done. In overtime, we had Matt Ryan threw for 352 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Jonathan Taylor does what he does best, just carry the rushing game with 161 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver, per usual, Michael Pittman Jr., 9 receptions, 121 yards and a touchdown, followed by Naheem Hines, 6 receptions, 50 yards. And then Dolan, he had 3 receptions, 46 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense just had a lot of trouble against the Houston Texans, but the saddest part is that you guys just caught Rodrigo Blankenship. So long to the nerd, building Lego sets when he got drafted. I'm going to miss that guy, but he's going to get a job elsewhere. Trust me. And then the Jaguars, close against the Washington Commanders, but no cigar. Trevor Lawrence still had some growing pains, 275 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. James Robinson led rushing with 66 yards and a touchdown, followed by Travis Etienne with 47 yards, but he had so many missed opportunities for tutties. So fantasy owners, you can kill him, or you could actually kill Urban Meyer for choosing to draft him in the first round in the 2021 draft. I still don't get it. Anyways, but lead receiver was Christian Kirk, kind of living up to that contract. 6 receptions, 117 yards, followed by Zay Jones, 6 receptions, 65 yards. Marvin Jones Jr., 3 receptions, 48 yards. And then Evan Ingram, 4 receptions and 28 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense just could not handle Carson Wentz and Antonio Gibson. So kind of a tough pill to swallow, but you also had some trouble against Scary Terry and Curtis Samuel, which I'm not going to shame you too much for because they're actually some pretty solid receivers. Colts are 3.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say they buck the trend. Finally, they're going to win a game at Jacksonville that they win and cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup between the Miami Dolphins and the Baltimore Ravens. Starting off with the Dolphins, a great victory you had over the Patriots, winning 20-7. Tua Tagovailoa, he looked okay, threw for 270 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, but he still had some trouble with that arm accuracy. Had a horrible underthrow to Tyreek Hill, but overall, not bad in his first game. The rush game was pretty horrific. Chase Edmonds could only muster up 25 yards, followed by Raheem Mostert with only 16, but it was really in the receiving game. Tyreek Hill, 8 receptions, 94 yards. I've said this many times. If you can't neutralize Tyreek Hill, you can't win. Then Jalen Waddle, he had 4 receptions, 69 yards, nice, and a touchdown, and a pretty dope touchdown celebration where he just waddles because Jalen Waddle, pretty funny. And then Chase Edmonds, 4 receptions, 40 yards. That was pretty much it, and you guys just completely locked down the New England Patriots. So props to you guys, even though their offense really isn't that great, but it's going to be a fun challenge to see what you can do against the Ravens. And then the Ravens, you just beat up on Joe Flacco. So what? Anyways, but Lamar Jackson threw for 213 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 picks. Had some excellent throws. But once again, it was against the Jets defense, so I'm very intrigued to see how he can do against the Miami Dolphins. Lead rusher was Kenyon Drake with 31 yards, followed by Lamar Jackson with 17. But in terms of receiving, Rashad Bateman led with 2 receptions for 59 yards and a touchdown. Devin Duvernay, 4 receptions, 54 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then Mark Andrews, 5 receptions, 52 yards. That was pretty much it. And on terms of defense, you shut down the elite Joe Flacco. Not much else to say. Anyways, but Ravens are 3.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win, but don't cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup, a classic NFC South rivalry and a rematch of the 2020 NFC divisional game between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and my boys in the New Orleans Saints. Start off with the Buccaneers, 19-3 victory over the Dallas Cowboys was solid. Let's see, Tom Brady wasn't an amazing game from him. He threw for 212 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. But really, it was all in the rushing game. Leonard Fournette ran for 127 yards. Lead receiver was Mike Evans, 5 receptions, 71 yards, and a touchdown. Julio Jones followed up, 3 receptions, 69 yards. Nice. And then Chris Godwin, 3 receptions, 35 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense just completely locked down the Dallas Cowboys. Now, they were without Dak Prescott at the end of the game, but still props out to the defense for shutting them down. And then the Saints, a miraculous 27-26 victory over the Atlanta Falcons. Jameis Winston threw for 269 yards, nice, and 2 touchdowns and no picks. Now, the first 3 quarters for the offense were pretty atrocious, but once again, the offensive line just completely sold on us because rush game couldn't really get anything going outside of a couple runs by Taysom Hill, and having Trevor Penning out and having Cesar Ruiz at right guard is absolutely detrimental because Cesar Ruiz absolutely sucks. Anyways, in terms of rushing, Taysom Hill was actually the lead rusher, 4 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown. Kamara, 9 rushes for 39 yards. But it was all in the receiving game. Juice Landry had an excellent game. 7 receptions, 114 yards. Michael Thomas, 5 receptions, 57 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Once again, proven you can't guard Mike. And I'm a lot more muscular than when I last did this. So yeah, y'all can't guard him. Then Juwan Johnson, 2 receptions, 43 yards. And then Chris Olave, 3 receptions, 41 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense was okay against the Falcons. Now, once again, with how often the offense was going 3 and out, the defense was just completely exhausted. Anyways, Buccaneers are 2.5-point favorites to win this one, but you know what? I'm going to go with the trend that Tom Brady just can't beat us in the regular season. Now, once again, as much as I enjoy beating Tom Brady in the regular season, he does have the playoff win over us, which will always trump that, but you know what? Just still give me the Saints. Now you have our very next matchup between the Washington Commanders and the Detroit Lions. I'll probably still call them the football team. Anyways, with the Commanders, a decent 28-22 victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars last week. Carson Wentz he had good and bad in him in his Commanders debut, throwing for 313 yards, 4 touchdowns, but 2 picks. In terms of rushing, Antonio Gibson led with 58 yards, but once again, it was really all in the receiving game as Gibson had 7 receptions for 72 yards. Scary Terry, 2 receptions for 58 yards and a touchdown. Curtis Samuel, 8 receptions, 55 yards and a touchdown. And Logan Thomas, 3 receptions, 45 yards. And then Jahan Dotson, the rookie you drafted, 3 receptions, 40 yards, and 2 tutties. So honestly, the receiving core looks pretty solid. The defense had some trouble against the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they kind of bended, but they didn't break. And then the Detroit Lions, you just got completely scorched in the second and third quarter, but nearly made a comeback, lost 38-35 to the Philadelphia Eagles. Jared Goff threw for 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Once again, I don't think he could be your quarterback in the future. DeAndre Swift, he ran for 144 yards and a touchdown, followed by Jamal Williams with 28 yards and 2 touchdowns. He may be missing DeAndre Swift for this one, so that could be a huge loss. But in terms of receiving, Amon-Ra St. Brown led with 8 receptions for 64 yards and a touchdown, followed by DJ Chark, 4 receptions, 52 yards and a touchdown, and then TJ Hawkinson, 4 receptions, 38 yards. That was pretty much it, and the defense just could not handle the rush game of the Philadelphia Eagles. Once again, when the Philadelphia Eagles, when they go in with that all ground and pound attack, you can't stop that. But I will knock your defense for not being able to stop A.J. Brown, because Jalen Hurts, that's really the only guy he could throw to. Lions are a 1.5 favorite to win this one. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. Now you have our very first 4 o'clock matchup, a rematch of the 2013 NFC Championship game and a classic NFC West rivalry between the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers. Starting off with the Seahawks, you won a game. You won. You beat the Denver Broncos. You beat Russell Wilson in his return with Geno Smith. Now, once again, I think this was a complete fluke on Geno Smith. I really feel like this is Mike White against the Cincinnati Bengals last year, where he had a fluky win, and everyone's like super high on him, and then he's going to fall back to earth. And that's exactly what's going to happen with Geno Smith. But not to discredit him, because he actually had a pretty solid game against the Broncos with 195 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Lead rusher was Rashad Penny with 60 yards. In terms of receiving, Parkinson, he was the lead receiver, 2 receptions, 43 yards and a touchdown, followed by Will Dissly, 3 receptions, 43 yards and a touchdown. Then DK Metcalf, 7 receptions, 36 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense did a great job at shutting down the Denver Broncos. But once again, you had 2 huge goal line stands where you forced 2 fumbles from the Broncos, and you were lucky that Nathaniel Hackett is a complete hack and chooses to go for a 64-yard field goal on a 4th and 5 as opposed to trust Russell Wilson, who they broke open the bank for. And then the Niners, you lost 19-10 to the Chicago Bears last week, and that was a big upset. But to be honest, I'm going to give you a pass for that game because the conditions were horrific. The downpour of rain, the field could maybe even be unplayable, so I'll give it a pass. Trey Lance did his first start, not great, threw for 164 yards, no touchdowns and a pick. In terms of rushing, he was your lead rusher with 54 yards, followed by Deebo Samuel with 52 yards and a touchdown, following that wide back roll. And then Elijah Mitchell ran for 41 yards, but he is going to be out for a considerable amount of time. So in comes Jeff Wilson Jr. Once again, any Niners running back can make it work. It's just how Kyle Shanahan works. Then in terms of receiving, Jawan Jennings, he had 4 receptions for 62 yards, followed by Brandon Ayuk with 2 receptions, 40 yards, and then Ray McLeod, 1 reception, 20 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, they were okay at shutting down the Chicago Bears. Once again, poor conditions. I can't really credit much on either side, but Niners are 8.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win, but don't cover the spread. Now you have our very next matchup, a rematch of the 2017 NFC wildcard game between the Atlanta Falcons and the Los Angeles Rams. Starting off with the Falcons. Nice choke, boys. You can kiss my rump over that one. Did I almost throw up in the 4th quarter of that game? Yeah, I did, but was it worth it? Yeah, because you guys choked against the Saints with a 27-26 loss. Although Marcus Mariota, in his first start, did look pretty good. Threw for 215 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. But it was all in Cordarrelle Patterson as he had 120 rushing yards and a touchdown. And also Marcus Mariota had a great rushing game with 72 yards and a touchdown. In terms of receiving, Drake London was your lead receiver, 5 receptions, 74 yards, followed by Olamide Zaccheaus, 4 receptions, 49 yards. And then Carterell Hodge, he had 3 receptions, 38 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense did an amazing job in the first 3 quarters, but once again, you choked. Which, you know, the Atlanta Falcons choking, you know football's back. And then the Rams, I mean, to be honest, I expected you to lose on opening day, but I didn't expect it to be that bad. A 31-10 loss to the LA Rams. Matt Stafford sucked, 240 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. Obviously, he had a surgery on his elbow, which is not good. It was very similar to what a lot of baseball players get as an elbow surgery. So is he screwed? Probably. Lead rusher was Darrell Henderson with 47 yards. Cam Akers didn't even have a single rushing yard that night. So RIP Cam Akers, fantasy owners. But anyways, in terms of receiving, once again, Cooper Kupp, who else? 13 receptions, 128 yards, and a touchdown, followed by Tyler Higbee, 5 receptions, 39 yards, and then Darrell Henderson, 5 receptions, 26 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, you know, even though they forced 4 turnovers, just really the offense just couldn't back that up. And even without those 4 turnovers, you guys still got completely exposed. The Rams are 10.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win, but don't cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup between the Arizona Cardinals and the Las Vegas Raiders. Start off with the Cardinals. That was just a tough loss for you guys. Kyler Murray, maybe he does need the homework clause in his contract, because he threw for 193 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. In terms of rushing, he was your lead rusher as well, but it was really nothing as he only had 29 rushing yards, followed by Eno Benjamin with 28 yards, and then James Conner, 26 yards and a touchdown. And then in terms of receiving, Greg Dortch was your lead receiver with 63 yards, followed by Hollywood Brown, 4 receptions, 43 yards and a touchdown. Then Eno Benjamin, 3 receptions, 33 yards and no touchdowns. And you guys desperately miss DeAndre Hopkins. And in terms of defense, just got scorched alive by Patrick Mahomes. And then the Raiders, you kept it close against the Chargers, but just fell short, 24-19. Derek Carr threw for 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 picks. So the picks are a bit of an issue, but I think he can bounce back after this. Lead rusher was Josh Jacobs, and he only had 10 carries for 57 yards. And in terms of receiving, Devontae Adams, he and Derek Carr was like they were back at Fresno State, just electric. 10 receptions, 41 yards, and a touchdown. Followed by Darren Waller, 4 receptions, 79 yards, no touchdowns. And then Brandon Bolden, 2 receptions, 21 yards, and a touchdown. That was pretty much it. And the defense, sure, he did a good job at stuffing the Chargers' rush game, but you were just no match for Justin Herbert. But to be fair, no one really is. Anyways, but the Raiders are 5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win, but don't cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup between the Houston Texans and the Denver Broncos. Starting out with the Texans, hey, you didn't lose to the Colts. You tied them instead, but you know what they say about ties? They're both losers, because neither of them are winners, but neither of them are losers, but still. Kind of a weird thing. Anyways, but Davis Mills didn't look too bad. He threw for 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Then followed up in terms of rushing, Rex Burkhead had 14 carries for 40 yards, followed by Dameon Pierce, 11 carries for 33 yards. So a lot of people are starting to doubt how well he's going to do in fantasy. But lead receiver, once again, Brandon Cooks. I love that guy, and I miss having him on the Saints. Once again, trading him for a first-round pick, which ended up being Ryan Ramczyk. I still really like, but he had 7 receptions, 82 yards, followed by O.J. Howard, 2 receptions, 38 yards, and 2 touchdowns, followed by Moore with 3 receptions, 31 yards. And that was pretty much it. And you guys did a great job at shutting down the Colts early in the game. Struggled in the fourth quarter, but shut them down in overtime and ended up tying. And then the Broncos, Chef Russ made his return to Seattle, and he did well, threw for 340 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. In terms of rushing, Melvin Gordon, lead rusher with 58 yards, followed by Javonte Williams with 43 yards. Both of them did fumble once at the goal line, and they lost it, so that's the only thing I'll knock them for. Lead receiver was Jerry Jeudy, 4 receptions, 102 yards, and a touchdown, followed by Cortland Sutton, 4 receptions, 72 yards, and then Javonte Williams, 11 receptions for 65 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, they did an okay job against the Seahawks. Sure, they got exposed by Geno Smith, but once again, the reason you lost is because Nathaniel Hackett made a stupid decision. 4th and 5, less than a minute to go, and they attempt to kick a 64-yard field goal with Brandon McManus. Now listen, unless your name's Justin Tucker, I'm not taking that chance. And of course, he missed the kick. So, but the Broncos, they're 10-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they rebound, win, and cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Dallas Cowboys. Start off with the Bengals. Wow. The Super Bowl hangover was real in week 1 as he lost 23-20 to the Pittsburgh Steelers in overtime. Joe Burrow threw for 338 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 4 picks. Had 5 total turnovers on the day. You know, that's why I was saying he was a little bit overrated. But once again, short sample size. I really do think he can rebound, but I would still take Justin Herbert over him any day of the week. But in terms of rushing, Joe Mixon was your lead rusher with 82 yards. And receiving, Jamar Chase doing what he does best, just ravage defenses with 10 receptions, 129 yards and a touchdown, followed by Joe Mixon, 7 receptions, 63 yards. Hayden Hurst, he had 5 receptions for 46 yards. And then Tyler Boyd, 4 receptions, 33 yards, and a touchdown. That was pretty much it. And then the defense, they were good at locking down the Pittsburgh Steelers because, once again, the Steelers, they're all defense. But, once again, the offense just couldn't do enough. And then the Cowboys, it's panic time. A tough loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you may have lost Dak Prescott for 6 to 8 weeks. He's gone for 6 to 8 weeks. You guys are absolutely screwed. So who's going to be quarterback? Cooper Rush? Probably. But anyways, Dak Prescott there for 134 yards, no touchdowns and a pick. And Cooper Rush in his time in, not much better, 64 yards. That was pretty much it. Ezekiel Elliott just can't really get it done. Only had 10 carries for 52 yards. Then in terms of receiving, Brown was your lead receiver with 5 receptions, 68 yards. Followed by Dalton Schultz, 7 receptions, 62 yards. And then CeeDee Lamb, 2 receptions, 29 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, they actually did an okay job. You know, they were okay at stopping Tom Brady in the pass, but they just could not handle Leonard Fournette. Bengals are 7.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. Now you have our Sunday Night Football matchup, a classic NFC North rivalry and one of the most storied rivalries in NFL history between the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers. Starting off with the Bears, you won. You beat the San Francisco 49ers. Sure, the conditions were absolutely horrific, but hey, win's a win. Nonetheless, Justin Fields, though, not amazing. Only 8 for 17, threw for 121 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. But in terms of rushing, Khalil Herbert led with 45 yards and a touchdown, followed by Fields with 28. And in terms of receiving, Dante Pettis led with 1 reception for 51 yards and a touchdown, followed by David Montgomery, 3 receptions, 24 yards. Byron Pringle, 1 reception, 22 yards, and then Equanimeous St. Brown, 1 reception, 18 yards, and a touchdown. And then the defense, they did a good job at shutting down the San Francisco 49ers, at least in the passing game. They couldn't handle the rush, but once again, horrific field conditions, so not a shocker. And then the Packers kind of do their classic week 1 bye where they just don't show up in week 1. But there can be some legit concerns. Aaron Rodgers threw for 195 yards, no touchdowns, and a pick. Got subbed out for Jordan Love at the end because they were just down by so much. Aaron Jones led rushing with 49 yards, followed by A.J. Dillon with 45 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was A.J. Dillon with 5 receptions for 46 yards, followed by Romeo Dubs with 4 receptions, 37 yards. And then Robert Tonyan, 3 receptions, 36 yards. And that was pretty much it. And the defense just got absolutely scorched by Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. Now look, I know week 1 is just not really great for Green Bay, but once again, really with the lack of receivers that they have, I feel like this could still be a rough season. But once again, it's only week 1, so only time will tell. And they're still 10-point favorites to win this one. So give me the Packers that they win and cover the spread because they absolutely own the Bears at Lambeau Field. Now you have our very first Monday Night Football matchup of week 2 between the Tennessee Titans and the Buffalo Bills, a rematch of the Music City Miracle. Starting off with the Titans, that was a rough 21-20 loss to the New York Giants. We had Ryan Tannehill threw for 266 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. But Derrick Henry, he was surprisingly quiet. Only had 82 yards, didn't have a touchdown. The receiving game was pretty decent. Kyle Phillips, 6 receptions, 66 yards, followed by Dontrell Hilliard, 3 receptions, 61 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then Treylon Burks, 3 receptions, 55 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense, they were good against the New York Giants in the first half, but the second half, they just completely collapsed. And of course, Randy Bullock had a chance to win the game for the Titans, but missed the game-winning field goal. And then the Buffalo Bills, statement opening day victory. Everyone's saying that they're the favorite. Now, I know there's a lot of week 1 overreactions, but this one's not an overreaction. Josh Allen threw for 297 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he did have 2 picks. First one was not his fault. The second one, that's the only one I'll blame him for. But other than that, excellent. And he also led rushing with 56 yards and a touchdown, followed by Devin Singletary with 48 yards. But the only guy I'm going to rip into is James Cook, as he did fumble in his only carry. So, yeah, no, that's not good. But in terms of receiving, I was lead receiver Stephon Diggs, per usual, 8 receptions, 122 yards, and a touchdown, followed by Gabriel Davis, 4 receptions, 88 yards, and a touchdown. And then Jamison Crowder, 3 receptions, 28 yards. Only other guy to have a receiving touchdown was Isaiah McKenzie. That was pretty much it, and the defense was excellent. Sure, you had one rough drive against the Rams on defense, but other than that, come on. You guys just completely shut them down. Bills are 10-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win, but don't cover the spread, because Tennessee, they're always good at keeping these games close. Now you have our final Monday Night Football matchup and our last match of Week 2, as we have a rematch of the 2017 NFC Championship game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. Starting off with the Vikings, a great 23-7 victory over the Packers. Kirk Cousins, solid game, 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. In terms of rushing, Dalvin Cook, he mustered up 90 yards, which was pretty solid. But once again, it was in the receiving game. Justin Jefferson just destroyed Green Bay with 9 receptions, 184 yards, and 2 touchdowns, just gritted all over them, because that's how he does it. Then followed up Adam Thielen, 3 receptions, 36 yards. Then Dalvin Cook, 3 receptions, 18 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, yeah, you guys shut down Aaron Rodgers, which is very impressive, despite him not having a good receiver to throw to. But once again, credit's where credit's due. And then the Eagles, a solid 38-35 victory over the Lions, even though the Lions made it a lot closer than it should have been, as they almost had another late Week 1 comeback like they did last year against the 49ers. But we had Jalen Hurts. It was okay. Threw for 243 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. But once again, it's all in the rushing game for the Philadelphia Eagles, as they just abused that. We had Miles Sanders with 96 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Hurts with 90 yards and a touchdown. Kenneth Gainwell, 20 yards and a touchdown. Then Boston Scott with 10 yards and a touchdown. Every rusher had a touchdown. And then in terms of receiving, it was really just A.J. Brown. 10 receptions, 155 yards. followed by Dallas Goedert, 3 receptions, 60 yards, and then Kenneth Gainwell, 2 receptions, 12 yards, and that was pretty much it. And the defense, yeah, they were okay against the Detroit Lions, although they really collapsed late in the game. But once again, it was kind of garbage time, but still a bit of a head scratcher. Currently, the Eagles are actually favored to win this game, but unlike the 2017 NFC Championship game of the Vikings. That is going to wrap up my video for today. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you want to watch Week 1 predictions, click right over here. If you like this video, drop a like, subscribe to my channel by clicking over here, or the subscribe button down below would mean a whole lot to me. Comment down below what your thoughts were on this video. Who's your upset of the week, lock of the week? Is your favorite team going to win? Am I going to recover from going 7-8-1? Follow me on all my social medias, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok at Brendan Suter. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day. Who Dat Nation. Still on a J's hat, though.